Let me tell you another story about dinosaurs. I believe God made the world in 6 days, about 6,000 years ago, just like the Bible says. And then 4,400 years ago, there was a big flood. A guy named Noah built a huge boat and saved all the critters on there. Now, before the flood came, the world was a lot different. The people lived to be 900 years old before the flood came. And during that time, when people are living a long time, the dinosaurs would be big because they're just big reptiles. Did you know even today reptiles never stop growing? Now what would happen to a lizard if he grows all of his life and you let him live to be 900 years old? Ooh, you would have a dinosaur. A big lizard. See, dinosaurs were just big lizards that lived in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. That's Komodo dragon. That's a whopper, isn't it? Yep. So, dinosaurs did not live millions of years ago. They were just big lizards. Hey, you can go to the pet store today and see these kind of lizards for sale called a Jackson chameleon. Guess what? He's got 3 horns on his face. What do you think he would look like when he got to be about 20 feet long? Triceratops, probably, yeah. See, dinosaurs always lived with people. And then Noah took dinosaurs on the ark. You say, dinosaurs on the ark, they're kind of big, aren't they? Well, the big ones were big, but the little ones were little. And Noah was 600 years old when he built that boat. He was probably smart enough to figure out, you don't have to bring the biggest ones you can find. Bring 2 babies. Just be sure to get a pink one and a blue one. That'll be important later. There's all sorts of reasons for bringing babies on the ark, okay? They're smaller, they eat less, they weigh less. Noah brought babies. And after the flood was over, people's lifespans got shorter. They only lived to be 400, then 200, then 100. And so dinosaurs were dying off because they couldn't live long enough. The second problem they had, people were killing them. Back in those days, they called them dragons. How many have ever heard of dragons before? Ever heard of dragons? They used to call them dragons because the word dinosaur wasn't even made up till 1841. That's just 150 years ago. So throughout most of history, they called them dragons. Beep, stand up, turn around, sit down. Oh, that was so slow. Let's try it again. Ready? Beep, stand up, turn around, sit down. I don't know. Some of you you're so slow someday you may get run over by a herd of stampeding turtles. What happened, as the people began to multiply after the flood was over, there was only 8 people that survived. They started having kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, and pretty soon there got to be more people, and they started killing off the dragons. The same thing happened right here in Escambia County. People moved in here. Nobody wanted to live next door to a grizzly bear, so they started killing off the grizzly bears. And now there aren't any more grizzly bears. But there probably used to be. So that's what happened. When people began to move into the area, they started killing off the dragons. And there's all sorts of stories of people killing dragons. They found an old brick wall in Babylon that was built 2,600 years ago. And on that brick wall, there were dragons. Now, how did they know about dragons in Babylon 2,600 years ago? Alexander the Great said his soldiers were scared by dragons when they conquered part of India in 300 BC. This Roman mosaic was made showing 2 long-necked dragons fighting. Or kissing. You can't tell what's going on for sure. How did they know about dragons during the times of the Romans, just 200 years after Christ? You can go all through history and hear stories about people killing dragons. St. George is famous for slaying a dragon almost 2,000 years ago. Beowulf slew dragons. The story says Beowulf killed Grendel the dragon by jerking off one of his arms. And he bled to death. You know, most people say the T-Rex had pretty puny front arms, and if you could ever get past his head and figure out a way to grab his arm, you probably could jerk it right off, and then he would bleed to death. They did find an old Babylonian cylinder seal of a guy pulling the arm off of a dragon. There are dragon stories from countries all over the world. Ancient pottery sometimes has dinosaurs on it. Now, how did they know about dinosaurs to put them on their pottery? This guy says, nobody's ever seen a dinosaur. Does he know that, or does he think that? He thinks that. He doesn't know that, does he? They put dinosaurs on their pottery. Of course they saw live dinosaurs. There's stories all through history of people seeing these things. Every country in the world just about has stories of dragons. Here's a Russian medallion showing somebody slaying a dragon. A Bulgarian postage stamp showing somebody killing a dragon. A guy in Ireland said he killed a dragon that had iron nails on his tail. I would say the tail spike from a stegosaur would probably remind you of that, wouldn't it? Beep. Stand up, turn around, sit down. The Vikings built ships with dragon heads on them. Why would they put dragon heads on their boats? Oh, because they were afraid of the dragons that lived in the water. A famous Norwegian man named Siegfried slew the dragon Fafnir and became a hero in Norwegian literature. Marco Polo lived in China for 17 years. When he came back, he told people the emperor is raising dragons to pull chariots in his parades. Why would he say that? Well, probably because the emperor was raising dragons to pull chariots in his parades. If you get the old Chinese history books, you'll find out in 1611, they appointed the post of royal dragon feeder. Now tell me, why do you need a royal dragon feeder? To feed the dragon. That's exactly right. One guy in Italy was walking his cows out to the pasture, and a dragon scared his cows, and so he smacked it on the head with a stick and broke its neck. And they had it stuffed and mounted for a museum display in 1572. A guy in Ireland, or a guy in France, killed a dragon that had iron spikes on its swords on its face. They renamed the whole city to honor the man who slew the dragon. Probably a triceratops with iron swords on his face. Boy, I wouldn't want to go up against one of these guys and try to kill him. But this guy was brave enough to do it. You know, sometimes on the walls of Grand Canyon they find pictures of dinosaurs. The Indians hunted dinosaurs. They didn't live millions of years ago. They carved pictures of them on the walls of the Grand Canyon. There's a cave in Australia where they found a dinosaur carved into the walls of the cave in Australia with a person running away from it. This man says nobody's ever seen a live dinosaur. Does he know that, or does he think that? He thinks that. He doesn't know that, does he? You go down to Peru, South America, you will find the Ica stones. And the Ica stones were found in the early 1500s by the Spanish conquistadors. They came through there and said they found stones with strange animals on them. They had never seen anything like it before. They're known as the Ica stones. These stones had dinosaurs carved on them. Now, how did they know about dinosaurs to carve them on these rocks if nobody's ever seen a dinosaur? Look at that one. You can see the Triceratops. Behind him, you see the Stegosaurus. You see the Stegosaurus on the top with the plates on his back. This guy's hitting one on the head with something. You better make your first hit a good one. It might be the only one you get. Dr. Ball is a friend of mine. He's got some of the stones. You can get on the website bible.ca/tracks if you want to see more about these Ica stones. There's quite a bit of information on there. Pastor Dennis Swift is a friend of mine in Oregon. He's been down there a bunch of times collecting the stones with dinosaurs on them. Now they tell you in school nobody's ever seen a dinosaur and they lived millions of years ago. That is just not true. Beep. Stand up, turn around, sit down. Down in Mexico, they found more of these stones. 56,000 ceramic figures of dinosaurs. Here's a guy cutting the head off of a dinosaur. Here's a man riding one. How would you like to ride a dinosaur? Would that be fun? Man, that would be a blast, wouldn't it? They found old pottery in this Indian burial mound, and there was a dinosaur on the pottery. The dead Indian was wrapped up in a blanket. All around the blanket were dinosaurs. They knew about dinosaurs. They did not live millions of years ago. And that's the one thing I don't like about dinosaurs, is the way everybody says, oh, they lived millions of years ago. That is just not true. They found some old Roman swords in Arizona, of all places. See, the Romans came back and forth across the ocean way before Columbus did. And on some of those Roman swords, they found dinosaurs. Now, how would they know about dinosaurs to put them on their swords if dinosaurs lived millions of years ago? He just thinks that. They don't know that.